Give it a sec. Hi, how's it going? So today I'm gonna be doing a podcast kind of about like sci-fi topics, you know. So how are you doing today?
That sounds awesome. What kind of sci-fi topics are you planning to dive into for the podcast?
Well, did you notice like how kind of like in the early 2000s there was like maybe like towards the middle of the 2000s there was this whole obsession with Bigfoot going on, finding Bigfoot, the cryptid.
Yeah, I totally remember that. There was a huge spike in interest around cryptids like Bigfoot, and shows like Finding Bigfoot were everywhere. People were fascinated by the idea of these mysterious creatures. Are you thinking about exploring cryptids in your podcast?
Well, actually, no, I was just going to talk about how it relates to entertainment because there was a video game that's called The Ring Terror's Realm. It's a very old video game on the Sega Dreamcast, and it has to do kind of like with the whole cryptid Bigfoot concept.
Ah, that's interesting. So you're going to talk about how that cryptid obsession influenced things like video games, like The Ring, Terror's Realm. I can see how Bigfoot and similar legends would feed into the atmosphere of games from that time. Are you planning to discuss how those themes crossed into other types of entertainment as well?
Well, yeah, I am, but the thing is, I want to keep the podcast kind of short. I just want to say, I'm just saying right now, like, if you play the game, when you start the game, it has to do with a virus spreading around. And you play as this girl who's like a CDC detective. Her name's Meg. And you can speak now.
That sounds like a cool way to connect the cryptid theme with something relevant, like a virus storyline. It's interesting how the Ring Terror's realm kind of foreshadowed the obsession with viral outbreaks in media. Are you planning to touch on how these early 2000s games influenced more recent trends in sci fi or horror?
No, no, no. I was gonna speak more, but you cut me off. I was gonna say, like, when you start the game, while you're playing the game, you see an image of this ape-like creature that looks like Bigfoot, but it's meant to be a proto-human. But at the same time, it relates to the virus that you're trying to fight against in the game. It's very 90s, 2000s ish, you know.
Got it. So, in the Ring Terror's realm, the image of the ape like creature that's like Bigfoot is actually tied into the virus storyline. That definitely brings in the whole cryptid and proto human vibe while still connecting it to the sci fi and viral outbreak themes that were big in the late 90s and early 2000s. How do you plan to tie all of that together in your episode?
Well, you're in it right now, so you're pretty much doing a very good job tying it all together and describing it. I just thought it made a fascinating plot to a video game, you know.
Thanks. I agree. It's a pretty unique and fascinating plot, blending those cryptid and viral outbreak ideas. It's definitely something that would catch people's attention, especially when tied into that early 2000s sci fi and horror vibe. Are you thinking of bringing up other games or media with similar themes, or just focusing on The Ring Terror's realm?
Well, you can also go back to it's a very old thing. You could also look at like Planet of the Apes, which is very old too. There's this whole concept of trying to understand what the proto-human was, to understand ourselves. And then that relates to everything else we discussed. You know,
Absolutely. Planet of the Apes is a perfect example. The whole idea of exploring proto humans to understand our own nature is central to both the series and other media like The Ring Terror's realm. It taps into that same curiosity we have about evolution, cryptids, and the unknown. Are you going to use Planet of the Apes as a way to show how these ideas evolved in entertainment over time?
Well, I feel like I've pretty much kind of covered enough of the topic that I wanted to speak about, but I always kind of felt like the message in the Ring video game was that it was always trying to ask the player, are you a man or are you an ape? Are you an animal? That was the central message to it.
That's a deep message. The game questioning whether you're a man or an animal ties back into those proto human themes, and it really challenges the player to think about evolution and what separates humans from animals. It's an interesting way to blend sci fi, cryptids, and philosophy. That sounds like a great way to wrap up your podcast topic.
Well, thank you very much. It was good speaking with you. And I think your chatbot name was Clove underneath your voice name. And that's pretty much it. And if any of you haven't played The Ring, you should definitely try out the game. The, there's problems with the game. There's little flaws with it, but it's still a very interesting game with an
You're very welcome. It was great chatting with you too. Actually, my name is GPT, but I'm glad I could help you with your ideas. That's a solid recommendation to wrap things up. The Ring Terror's Realm definitely sounds worth trying for anyone into those themes. Good luck with your podcast.
Well, you cut me off a little bit, but it's fine. Thank you very much. See you next time. See you guys. Take care.
Sorry about that. Thanks for the chat, and take care.